Hello, I'm Casey Aiken. Welcome to Montgomery Community Media's continuing coverage of the 2014 Maryland congressional elections. As part of our continuing effort to bring attention to the significant political races that affect the citizens of Montgomery County, Montgomery Community Media and 21 This Week is pleased to present this special half-hour interview of congressional candidate Dan Bongino, who is the Republican challenger to Democrat incumbent John Delaney in the 6th Congressional District. Mr. Bongino began a career in law enforcement with the New York City Police Department in 1995 before joining the United States Secret Service in 1999. As part of his duties with the Secret Service, Mr. Bongino transferred to the Washington, D.C. area, where he took up residency in the state of Maryland in 2002. In 2011, Mr. Bongino left government service in order to begin a political career as a candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2012. Mr. Bongino is married with 2 young children, and since his defeat in the 2012 Senate election, he's appeared as a commentator on several news outlets. Welcome, Mr. Bongino.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And the first question to ask anyone running for office is, why are you running for Congress? And why is it important that you're running as a Republican?
Well, it's not important that I run as a Republican. I've had frequent battles with people within my own party almost as often as I've had with Democrats. I think it's important that people like me run. Kind of parallels that question why I'm running as a Republican, because a lot of folks run as outsiders. It makes for a fancy soundbite, nice campaign sign, nice slogan, but most of them don't mean it. They've typically sold out by the time they've got there, or some of them even before they've gotten in office. They've already cut the deals. I don't do that. I saw the process from the inside as a Secret Service agent. It's one of the reasons I left. There was certainly no financial benefit to me leaving, quite the opposite. My wife and I took a severe financial hit to walk away. But it's about time that men and women like me in my position who are frustrated with the process stop talking about the process and actually change it.
The 6th Congressional District that you're running in is an interesting amalgamation. Geographically, it's the largest of the Maryland congressional districts, and perhaps it's most diverse. It includes western Maryland counties of Allegheny, Washington, and Garrett, the growing parts of Frederick County and Frederick City, and it includes a large portion of Montgomery County. That makes for an interesting, diverse mix. What are you offering the voters of this congressional district?
Something completely different than they've seen so far. Someone who understands economics as a small business owner, someone who's a genuine middle-class resident of this beautiful state, and that matters. When people talk about things like the economy, but either they're worth millions of dollars and nothing wrong with their success, or they're insider politicians, do they really know what it's like not be able to put oatmeal on the table in the morning? Having grown up poor and resided in the middle class. We're not a class society, but I think everybody gets what I mean. Most of my life, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to wait for a paycheck before you can go shopping, before you can fill up your gas tank. And I think that's largely been lost, especially in Maryland, where we have right now a one-party hegemony. It's beyond a monopoly at this point. That really isn't interested in what the other side has to say. And then we have a Republican Party that's gotten so used to losing that I think they've lost touch too as well. So I think I bring a completely different perspective. And as an added bonus, having been a federal employee for 12 years as a Secret Service agent, I understand there's a significant federal footprint in the Montgomery County suburbs and Frederick, and I understand what they're going through. I was there.
Thank you. Now, if you're elected in November, what are your 3 top priorities?
Education, healthcare, and the economy. Well, the economy, number one right now. If you can't put food on the table in the morning, you're struggling, you don't have a job. The other 2, sadly, take the silver and the bronze in that battle. We have to do something about the Maryland economy. It is absolutely inexcusable that in a state as incredible as, think about all the gifts we have, right? We have Deep Creek, we have the Bay, we have Baltimore, we have Annapolis, we're right in Washington, D.C.'s backyard. People are evacuating the state. It's a mass exodus of businesses and people. That's irrefutable. The only thing holding us from a financial apocalypse in this state is the fact that we are in Washington, D.C.'s backyard. If we don't turn this economy around, and turn it around quickly, and stop in Maryland exclusively relying on federal dollars as our one bedrock of economic growth, there's not going to be anything left when the federal Leviathan slows its spending down, which it has to do by simple math. This can't, Herb Stein, the famous economist, once said, what can't continue won't. This can't continue. We just don't have the money, and we better have a plan B.
Well, this congressional district really is a tale of two cities. I mean, you have the western counties, which are very rural and are struggling economically, and then you have Montgomery County and Frederick, which have a different economic outlook altogether. So, do you have a different plan to address the problems in each of those communities?
There are different issues. It's the same plan. I think some politicians who are more skilled at politics and leadership are very good at developing different messages for different people, even on the same issue. I don't do that. I've been very clear. I'm a strong advocate for things like school choice, for big, bold, pronounced tax cuts. Can we try it? I mean, listen, you can always raise taxes later if I happen to lose and you elect someone else. You can always do that. But the bottom line is people spend their money better than government at this point. We have to try. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the region at the state level. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world at the federal level. I mean, are we trying to be the gold medal winner of taxation? Can't we have a reasonable middle ground? Well, you don't in this state. So you don't have to really tailor your messaging. There are people who ask me about things in Western Maryland I don't get as often in Montgomery County. Second Amendment issues come up frequently out in the mountains. It's a very rural place. There are a lot of hunters out there. Montgomery County, I get more questions on the economy and immigration, but the message is the same. I'm never going to change my message to win an election.
All right, so you're one of the Republican candidates running for governor, Larry Hogan, has proposed eliminating the tax on retirement income here in Maryland. Is that something you would propose?
Absolutely. It's sensible. Folks have to understand that people leave Maryland because you can't retire here. We have a death tax, we have a gift tax, we have an inheritance tax, we have the federal taxes that apply here, obviously as well. You can't tax people's retirement and then expect them in a mobile society with transportation, moving options, and retirement communities and states that are begging to have their retirement dollars. And keep in mind, their drain on the social service system is usually lesser as well. They don't have kids in school, a lot of our retired folks. Well, it's pure math. They're not going to stay here. Now, you have folks like our Anthony Brown on the other side running against Larry Hogan that just ignores the simple math. You can't tax what doesn't exist. If they don't live here, you can't tax them. I mean, he can talk all he wants about how he's raised all this money through these increased taxes that him and Governor O'Malley put in. It's just not true. We're losing money.
Well, it's a great time to take a short break, and we're going to explore some other important issues with the candidate when we come back from this short break.
Safe to keep your distance until they're no secret that makes you smile.
Reliable sources say that chicken soup has proven
Has found their way out of this dangerous, but they are returned.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
And welcome back. We're here with congressional candidate Dan Bongino, who's running for the congressional seat held by John Delaney in the 6th Congressional District. We're going to explore a few other areas. You know, Mr. Bongino, the environment and energy are very important here in Maryland. We all respect the Chesapeake Bay, but we also have the beautiful areas in Western Maryland which are part of your district. What are your position on some of the energy issues affecting us right now?
Sure. Western Maryland, we're floating on a sea of natural gas. I'm a big believer in subsidiarity, that management decisions when it comes to government should be pushed down to the local level, the most local level possible. I don't believe in my using the bully pulpit of a federal government congressional position to force upon Western Maryland what they should or shouldn't do. Personally, I support the development of our natural gas assets in Maryland. Why anyone wouldn't, I don't understand. It's a clean burning fuel. We have enough responsible development technologies to move forward. It's been done safely in Pennsylvania, a neighboring state of ours, for years. There's no reason not to go forward. We have an exporting facility we can build upon in southern Maryland. So it's a good idea. But again, I think it's up to local officials. I don't want to tell anyone what to do with their land and their assets.
Well, your opponent, Mr. Delaney, opposes the development of the Keystone Pipeline. What is your position on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just silly. The oil shale in Canada is going to be shipped either to clean burning facilities in the United States or to dirty facilities in China. That's the real world. Congressman Delaney's a nice enough guy, but he lives in fantasy land with the money fairy and all these other people. That oil shale is going to be burned. I don't know what part of that he doesn't get. You can either burn it cleanly in the United States or you can burn it and pollute the atmosphere in China. That's it. Canada's already told us that. It's kind of silly to take that position. And not to mention, the unions, the construction unions have come out for the Keystone Pipeline. A lot of Democrats came out for the Keystone Pipeline. Why he's not, I think it's a pure political play on his part.
The other source of energy is wind energy. And obviously there's a building of wind energy farms in Garrett County, as well as in the Chesapeake Bay. What is your position on those two developments?
I'm for an all-hands-on-deck approach when it comes to wind, solar, geothermal. The problem with this is government subsidies are distorting the markets, and you're getting inefficient companies that are coming into the markets. You saw it at the federal level with Solyndra. That did nothing for the development of the solar industry, probably set it back 5 years. These companies can compete. This technology is getting very good, especially solar. But government subsidies using your money is distorting the entire, it's not helping. It hasn't helped at all. So these the wind facilities out there, if they can compete in a market and provide clean, responsibly developed, effectively priced energy, I'm all for it. Always have been.
Good. We're going to shift gears for a second because over the summer, one of the hot issues was immigration because of the influx of unaccompanied children to the border. What's your position on immigration and securing the border?
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic to me. My wife is a first-generation immigrant, came here when she was 9 from Colombia. Her mother's just an amazing story of American citizenship and entrepreneurship and why people come here. But frankly, it's not fair to immigrants who came here legally to now have an open borders policy. An open borders policy outside of the immigration issue, which I'm not trying to divert the question, but is a national security problem right now. Hezbollah has figured out a long time ago how to use those human trafficking pathways, how to get people into the United States. We have to have a sound, and this is important, a labor-sensitive immigration model. We don't have that now. We have a chain migration system. It's completely broken. It's led to a geometric growth of people who have U.S. citizenship as an entitlement now due to family members. We just can't do that. You can't have both, on one hand, a welfare state, and secondly, an open border state at the same time. You can have one or the other. You can never have both. We'll go bankrupt as a matter of pure math. So we need a labor-sensitive model that works. And right now, it does. We don't have a secure border. Right now, if you want to come in, you just walk in.
But what does a possible immigration plan look like to have something that will spur and be a rational immigration plan so people can come to the United States, but also be a control on those who are coming here illegally?
Sure, a couple points. E-Verify. So if you do come here and you're able to find a job and you come here legally, you should be here legally. You shouldn't have to compete with people who didn't follow the rules. Secondly, border security package. Less than 10% of our border is actually secure. I've been down there. A lot of it's double fencing. That's not a border. That's a suggestion. It says, please don't cross. It's nonsense. Another component is the labor-sensitive portion of it. We have to break up the chain migration model we have now. It's unfair. We can't have it's not an arithmetic growth. We're talking about geometric growth of people from one specific country, Mexico and our southern border. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not fair to other people in other parts of the world who want to come here as well. Listen, we need immigration. Okay, the country's population is declining. By 2050, we're not even going to be at the replacement rate anymore. We need immigration, but we also need safe borders, and we need a strong set of rules that's sensitive to our labor market. We should take care of Montgomery County residents and other citizens in the district before we start considering bringing other people in and allocating assets to them. It's just not fair to anyone.
As a potential member of Congress, you would have both a national position on some issues like national security as well as defense. What is your position on those two areas?
Well, I think we've gotten ourselves involved in way too many foreign entanglements. The founding fathers warned us about this. I was never a supporter of the war in Iraq. I was a supporter of engagement in Afghanistan, but not this prolonged effort we've had there. We've made this mistake over the years of confusing tactics for a strategy. We don't have a strategy. The strategy at one point seemed to be nation building. It's failed. Where's it worked? I mean, even in Vietnam, where I lost my uncle, what took down the communist regime in Vietnam was capitalism. It wasn't the Vietnam War. We're seeing a collapse in Iraq right now, a failed strategy there. Granted, it's been bipartisan. I'm not trying to indict one party or the other on that. What we have to do is we have to view war strategically as a punishment and a deterrent, kind of like we view crime. We're never going to stop murder in the United States or homicide. I wish we could. But what do? If we catch you, we put you away for a very long time. We have to use special forces assets, intelligence, joint training operations, strike hard, strike fast. But any prolonged war effort, the appetite, the country's just not there anymore, especially with a 24-hour news cycle. It's just not there.
Well, we're going to take a short break now for our third break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our issues with Mr. Bongino and look at the importance of Montgomery County to his election. Stay tuned.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on a sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
And welcome back. We're here again, once again, with congressional candidate Dan Bongino, who is running for the Congressional District in District number 6. Now, our audience is Montgomery County voters. This is a local community television station and a local community show. So tell us about your approach to issues in Montgomery County. What are the most important issues you see in Montgomery County, and how would you address them?
Yeah, healthcare is a big issue in Montgomery County. We have a lot of federal employees. They're in the Federal Employees Health Benefits Program, the same program I was in as a Secret Service agent. You know, the program's seeing rising premiums. A lot of it's sadly due to a poor healthcare policy we've taken on over the past couple of years. There are ways to reform that and fix that, make our federal workforce more attractive. People want to come on board. Another big issue in Montgomery County, we knock on a lot of doors. My knuckles are starting to get a little calloused from doing it, actually. We've been at it for a year and a half. Education. People are really upset. For a county as wealthy as Montgomery County, we have a lot of brain power and a lot of economic power in Montgomery County. The schools have frankly struggled a bit, and I think we need to be honest. I think the teachers have been put in an untenable position. You know, we're not rewarding our best teachers. We're allowing mediocre teachers to compete with our best teachers on the same economic playing field. Well, that's not fair. No other business follows that model. You know, if you have salespeople or lawyers or doctors, the best doctors, lawyers, salesmen make the most money. We have to look at a system there where we can dial back the federal influence over policy, let the locals take over, and let them take back some of their money and implement better reward systems for teachers. I'm a big advocate for school choice as well. But Montgomery County, I have the northwestern portion of the district, which is Boyd's, Poolesville, Damascus, northern portion of Gaithersburg. The rest is in the 8th Congressional District. And like I said, the federal workforce is a significant issue. Government spending, I mean, that's a big deal as well. There are people, I'm finding you have almost two different approaches to the economy. You have people, federal employees, federal contractors who jobs to them in the economy means stability where they are now. They're afraid. They don't know that next year there's not going to be another shutdown or something like that. They're not sure. There are other folks who don't have a job in Montgomery County. They may be a dual earning household where one spouse is working, the other's looking for a job. They're worried they're never going to find a job again. A lot of these folks are in their 40s and their 50s. They have a lot of skills. They've been in the workforce a long time, and they've almost priced themselves out of a market in a bad economy. This is unacceptable in one of the wealthiest counties in America. And if we don't turn it around, we're going to keep losing people. I just had a friend, actually, really fantastic. She was a Republican activist I knew and was a very successful businesswoman. She just left, moved to McLean, Virginia. Couldn't take it anymore. Said, I'm not paying the taxes here. And that's really happening. And we can ignore it all we want, but the tax base is going to suffer, and so is the infrastructure here, schools and police assets, if we don't start building that tax base up.
Well, it's kind of a circular problem. We talked about at the very beginning of the show about economic issues. The economy in Montgomery County, in my view, is very soft. I'm a practicing attorney. I have a lot of small business clients, and I get a sense from them that they're very worried about the future of the economy, whether they're related to the federal government or not. It's a very soft recovery that we've had, and one of the things that as Congress can do is to help spur some of that growth. Do you see that as an appropriate role for you if you're elected to Congress?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, my goal is I always say to leave office and be a lot less powerful than when I came in. My goal is to disempower myself and the job and empower you. I mean, one of the reasons I ran is because my small business, I hired a nanny to watch my 10-year-old, at the time was 5 or 6. And the paperwork to hire a nanny in Maryland is outrageous. It's no wonder there's a black market economy in Maryland. Things like this, this adds up. There's a significant regulatory cost to that. And what I particularly find offensive, being a libertarian-leaning conservative, is a lot of folks mischaracterize the Republican or libertarian position on taxes. Nobody's saying we don't need to pay taxes. No one. I don't know any serious, credible Republican outside of kooks in both parties that says, "Oh, we don't need to pay taxes." That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, can we pay a fair, reasonable, responsible rate that does two things? That, one, generates tax revenue for the government, but secondly, doesn't disincentivize businesses from locating here. That's really not a conservative position. That's just a common sense position. But the left is constantly mischaracterizing Republicans. Because I knock on doors, I get it a lot from loyal Democrat voters who say, "Oh, you guys don't want to pay taxes." I say, "Where did you hear that? That's just not true. We just want rates that are reasonable and competitive." You can't tax what doesn't exist. If people move, you don't have any tax money because you don't have any people.
I found it interesting that Congressman Delaney had an op-ed in the Washington Post which discussed his plans to improve government, and one of those was about redistricting. I thought it was interesting because he was the beneficiary of some of the gerrymandering that's gone on. There aren't a lot of votes in Western Maryland for you. Most of your voting base is here in Montgomery County. Have you found a resistance to your message here in Montgomery County?
No, not at all. We've been knocking on doors for a year and a half. I mean, we're 15,000 doors in. I'm about 4,000 in myself. I've been at it since last May or so. No, I haven't. There was one door we knocked on. One woman, she probably remember me if she's watching her show, actually. She didn't like some of the stances I had on Obamacare. I think it's generally, I had my insurance canceled twice, and she must have seen some segments I'd done on some other news channels on it. They didn't like that. But no, I haven't gotten much resistance at all. Matter of fact, even the people knocking on doors for us are volunteer. We have about 3,000 volunteers. They report back to me all the time through the campaign manager if they have any negative, I just want to know, especially if something goes bad. I could tell you the negative reports, you can count them on one hand over a year.
So you're finding an enthusiastic and accepting audience for your message.
Well, I mean, I can prove it. The Congressman Delaney can't. I mean, listen, social media, you're not going to win a campaign on social media, but you're going to lose it without it. I mean, we have 65,000 followers on our page. I think he's got 1,000. I mean, our interaction on our page. I'll put a post up about the economy or my stance on fighting insider bureaucracies in the government and returning power to folks, and I'll get 100,000 people to view it. He'll put up a post, he'll have 3 or 4 people that comment at that. I mean, you can look at it yourself. You don't have to look at me. And again, those are numbers. Those are real numbers, and those are the kind of things that people find attractive about our campaign. Is that we're willing to take on both sides, because frankly, I think both sides have sold you out.
Well, I want to thank you for being here tonight and taking the time. This is the beginning of the political season for us. We've got about 8 weeks before the election, and we're delighted that you could be here with us tonight. Thank you for being here, and good luck on your campaign.
Thanks a lot.